Wow, okay. Wait, I actually don't know the day. I think I'm wrong. What's your birthday? What's the 29th of January. Anyway, I have a special announcement for you guys. So, those of you that want to do fine arts, it's no longer happening in December. It's getting moved back to March, and it's going to be in person still. So if you're wanting to do your big groups like we were planning, we have plenty of time to do that now. And then, hey Juan Felix, or Juan and Thomas, can you help me with this next part? We're going to be. I know he's not going to want to come up here, but tonight is somebody's last night with our youth. He was going to be going into the military, and that is Felix. Felix, if you can come up here, we want to honor you one last time. Is he actually walking up here, or is he struggling? Oh, okay. Wow, I'm actually surprised you're coming up. I didn't think I. Oh, and he turned around. No, I'm kind of glad that I get to be the one to honor him on his last day because I've been around him for
Too long.
Yeah, too long is the correct way to put that. This is somebody that has been willing to help whenever we need it. Most of you always see him in the back now instead of up on the stage like he used to be. We don't talk about that. Anyway,
No.
no. But we want to say thank you for everything you've done in these last how many years have you been here?
Too many.
Too many. But we want to thank you for everything you've done.
Longer.
And
Longer. Longer.
I'll let them guess.
Shorter. Close. Okay. Early guy.
Okay. But we want to, before you leave, we want to have people, if whoever wants to come up and that's close to Felix and pray for him at this moment, if you can come up here.
Leaders, if you want to go ahead and come up, so we're just going to keep praying for Felix. Yeah, come on up. So student leaders.
Yeah, student leaders count too.
I think the word you use is anybody who wants to.
I think everyone wants to because we appreciate it. Everyone does. Y'all just have like
I'll make my way to the front of the stage.
Y'all would have a hand extended out to Felix too. That's up to y'all.
You
And
can.
you guys probably was
What branch is he going to?
Army.
Okay.
Yeah.
So prayers are accepted anyway. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and read a prayer. Heavenly Father, we come here today, Lord, and we just want to say thank you for the faithful and servant that Felix has been in this ministry, not just in this ministry, but in this church, for his community, for families, for his friends, and all those things, Lord. I pray that Felix has the same trip over serving over the military, and just thank you for his service so far, and also thank you for his service to come, Lord. I pray that he has just an amazing time over there, even though it might be a little bit hard facing training with some drill sergeants probably yelling at him. That would make me probably laugh at the drill sergeants, but I know he'll be okay, he'll come back, and just thank you, Lord, for everything that you do. So I pray, Felix, in Jesus' name, that you are just free from all anxieties, that this next chapter in your life is just full of fruit, and just full of just peace and joy and love, and just nonstop growth for you, my brother. So thank you again, Felix, for being a great and awesome friend, a family member, a brother, to all of us, Lord. In Jesus' name we all say, amen. A round of applause for Felix again. Thank you, Lord.
So I see you with a mic. Do you want to say anything else before you head back?
You want me to say one?
No, because I'm worried about what you're gonna say.
Bacon and eggs.
Bacon. Anyway,
I'm still here, Jake.
I know you're still here. You're here until the end of the night, at least.
Somebody get the mic on.
Does somebody want to grab a mic away from him, please?
No.
You're up here. You're not back there. Don't worry about it.
The sermon.
Can you put your mic down? Thank you. Anyway, so tonight we're going to be finishing up the topic of distractions that we've been on for the last 2 weeks or 3, something like that. And the title of my message tonight is going to be just focus. Focus? No. Not focus, at least. That's how I know. You can't ask me what happened 2 weeks ago. My mind's been focused on tonight. But with focus, it kind of reminds me of a time when I was playing high school football still. And that's too many years ago. I'm not going to even mention now. What? Hey. Shh. Anyway, it reminds me of 2 times that I had gotten talked to by a ref because it was almost a penalty, and it wasn't even my fault. One of the times, it was my freshman year, and we were playing East Nicholas, and I was on offense playing tackle, and next thing I know is that I'm blocking this guy, and I see him dive into the center of the pile. I'm like, why is he diving? I look over, I see the ball bounce next to me, bounce off my leg and go backwards. I go, oh, I might want to get that. So I turn around, I tried to get it, but then this smaller kid than me that was probably playing corner or linebacker grabbed it and started sprinting away with it. And at the time, I'm like, I could just let him run and not worry about it, but I decided to try to chase after him. And so I start chasing after him, going as fast as I can, and I'm almost catching up to him when I feel something behind me push me. And I go sliding across the floor, and I get up. As I'm getting up, I notice there's another player from East Nick next to me. And I'm like, this guy just pushed me in the back. Hopefully we'll get a call for that. So I'm standing up, and the ref comes over to me, and I've got like grass stains going up and down my jersey. And he goes, next time you push in the back, you're getting flagged. And I just kind of looked at him like, but I was the one that got pushed. What are you talking about? If I was older, I probably would have said, you need to get your glasses fixed. But I didn't. The second time was funny enough against East Nick, but it was 2 years later. So my junior year, I'm on kickoff. I'm running over to the guy that's about to catch it, and he had called a fair catch, so I started slowing down. Whistle gets blown, and I'm like, oh, okay, the play's going to be over. And I get sideswiped by another player and flew probably from that side of the stage to that side. And I get up, and the ref again comes over to me and goes, next time you need to stop at the end of the play. Otherwise, somebody's going to get hurt. And I looked at him, and I said, I wasn't the one that got flung, 15 yards. And funny enough, at the same time with that, my glasses fell off. So as I'm arguing with the ref, I go, wait, why are you blurry? And I go reach for my face, and my glasses aren't there. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Start searching for it. It took like 5 minutes to find them. But when that wasn't happening, most of the time when I played football, I was sitting on the bench. I'm not going to lie. I was sitting on the bench watching everybody else play because I wasn't one of the better players. But while I was able to sit there and watch each game, I started noticing like different things going on the field that most people don't realize. Like I saw who wanted to be out there, who didn't want to be out there. I saw where that ball was going to actually go. And it kind of reminded me of just who people watches in here. Who goes out in public and just people watch. But you do it, right? I'm not saying you go do it as a hobby, but you've done it, right? Yes. Sometimes it's a little fun. Sometimes we shouldn't be doing it. But it makes you sit there and you start focusing on what's going on in front of you, and you start seeing like little details of certain people. It makes me wonder if there's times that we actually sit down when we're at school or work and just actually focus on what's in front of us. Like actually taking the time to look at every detail with complete focus. Tonight, the main scripture I'm going to be basing this sermon on is Matthew 14:22-33. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Matthew 14:22-33. So it starts by saying, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. After dismissing the crowds, he went up to the mountain by himself to pray. Well into the night, he was there alone. Just in case you don't know who we're talking about Jesus. Jesus went well into the night alone on the mountaintop. Meanwhile, the boat was already some distance away from the land, battered by waves because the wind was against them. Have you ever had a time where you go on a trip and you left like a friend or someone and you're thinking, oh, I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what they're up to because, the last time I saw them, they went and did this. I feel like that's what the disciples on the boat were thinking at the time. They were wondering, I wonder what Jesus is still doing on land while we're out here. And how is he going to come meet us? And then it continues saying, Jesus came toward them walking on the sea very early in the morning. Imagine looking out, like especially if you went out in the sea. You're out there and you look and you see something that looks like a figure walking towards you. You're first going, am I seeing things right? Am I just delusional? Like, is that an actual person coming out to me? Or is that just a different object? But then you start to see it's someone you know. You start freaking out and going, no, there's no way that can be that person. Like, we left them on land. There's no way they could be out here in the middle of the sea with us. So it says, when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. I mean, I probably would have reacted the same way, thinking it's a ghost or something. Like, it couldn't be that person. There's no way. In a world filled with many fears, distractions, it's a struggle to focus on what's real and what's not. And at times, it's even more impossible to focus on Jesus. Which leads me to my first point. A focus leads to faith over fear. So So there's Jesus just standing on top of the middle of the water. And the disciples are all freaking out, going, it's a ghost, they're scared. But here's Jesus saying in Matthew 14:27, immediately Jesus spoke to them, have courage, it is I, don't be afraid. I wonder how much they did calm down at that moment. If they all calmed down or if it was just Peter in this moment, because Peter goes, Lord, if it's you, Peter answered him, command me to come to you on the water. Peter decided to calm, as soon as he heard, don't be afraid, that it was him, Peter decided to call out to him to make sure and asked, for him to command him to come out. And Jesus said, "Come." And climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on water and came towards Jesus. As soon as Jesus said, "Come," Peter didn't hesitate. He didn't do like who's seen Tarzan 2 with like, with like the baby elephant? No, it's in the second. But he's going to step in the water to follow his mom, and goes, "Is this water sanitary?" That's not what Peter did. He didn't go, "Oh, I don't know if I should step out here." He instantly stepped out as he heard the word "come." He did the impossible. He walked on water because of the fact that he was able to put his faith in Jesus. He was able to lock eyes with Jesus and had complete focus, which fueled his faith. What is faith if there is no action? We all have fears that keep us from living the life that God has called us to. It could be the fear of not fitting in. It could be fear of the future, or even the fear of failure. As long as we are like Peter, we don't hesitate, we step out into what God has called us to do. We step out in faith and belief that Jesus has got us. Then you too should be able to walk on water. But what do I mean by you walking on water? I mean, what waters do you need to walk on? What are you needing to walk through Jesus to? Just as it says in Matthew, Jesus says, "Do not fear." Jesus calls us not to fear when he is with us. Guys, do you need to separate? Please focus. It says right here in Isaiah 41:10, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will hold you with my righteous right hand." I know for me, whenever I'm afraid of what my future will be, I start thinking of where I am financially, spiritually, emotionally. And it scares me to think about it because it starts to take my focus away from God. It starts to take my focus away from my faith. But I still wake up every day stepping out in faith that Jesus has me and has a plan for what I'm going to do. And that he will be there in every moment. But catch this. Catch this. We can feel this way by putting our focus on Jesus instead of our fears. You step out into your full potential. Faith begins where focus is fixed. If we continue in the scripture, it said in Matthew 14:30, it says, "But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he called out, 'Lord, save me.'" Distractions sink us. It says in this verse that Peter started sinking. Was the storm really that bad that it made Peter start sinking in the water, even though he had his eyes on Jesus? Wait. No, let's look back at that again. When he saw the wind. So you're telling me that for that split second, that Peter's focus went from Jesus, who's standing in front of him, to the wind, to the storm that's around him. In that split second, he started sinking because he lost focus of what was in front of him. It's like the minute you start to focus on what doesn't matter, the minute you start to focus on the past, the minute you start to focus on what's going on around you, you start to lose focus on your future. You start to lose focus on what God has called you to do and what God has planned for you. And that is why Peter started sinking. Not because the storm had gotten stronger, but because he lost focus on Christ. Distractions kill focus, and without focus, there is no faith. It's like running a race. Who's done track before? Anyone? You know what it is. Anyway, I coached it, and I also did track before. And one thing we always told runners was that when you are running a race, you focus on what's in front of you, because there's always one person that's faster than you. So if you focus on what's in front of you, you're going to be able to achieve your goal. But the second you look behind you, you start slowing down. You start to sink. The same thing happens in our lives. You go from looking around, focusing on God, what God's called you to, and then the minute you focus on what doesn't matter, you start to sink just like Peter. It lets things like anxiety, drama, or what others think of you distract you. You begin to drown in insecurity, doubt, and pressure. However, Jesus is just a prayer away. Psalms 55:22 says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never allow the righteous to be shaken." Jesus has his arms stretched out and ready to pick you back up, ready to pull you out of that sinking feeling. All you have to do is refocus on him, because refocus brings rescue. Continuing in Matthew 14, it says, "Immediately Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, 'You of little faith, why did you doubt?' When they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those in the boat worshiped him and said, 'Truly, you are the Son of God.'" The first word in that, it says immediately. It doesn't say Jesus took his time. It doesn't say Jesus laughed as Peter fell in the water. No, it says immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught hold of him. Even though Peter took his focus away from Jesus to the storm, even though he had doubt in his mind and in his heart, Jesus didn't let him drown. Listen, if you are going to take one thing away from everything I've said today, I want it to be this. You don't have to be perfect. We all lose focus at times. But God is still near, ready to reach out and pull you back up above the waves. He's just waiting. He's waiting for you to refocus and cry out like Peter. He's waiting for you to cry out and say, "Lord, save me." and he will answer immediately with grace and love to pull you back above the waves. I know so many times growing up, I always wanted to hear from my parents when I was in a good situation or a bad situation. I just wanted to hear the words, I love you and I care about you. But for years, I wasn't getting that. But then the first time I heard those words, it wasn't from my parents. It was from Jesus. It was a moment just like this, in this very room, that I was sitting in the back. And Jesus was calling out to me from up here, saying that I love you, I want you, and I care for you. And that was the moment that I realized that Jesus was with me in every step that I was taking. I just didn't realize it until that moment. He had been by my side the whole time, carrying me through the rough. It reminds me of this poem, and it's called Footprints in the Sand. I don't know if anybody has heard of it, but it goes, a man once dreamt that he walked along the beach. And as he walked along, he saw his life flash before his eyes. As he looked back over his life, he saw that for every memory, there were two sets of footprints in the sand. One belonging to himself, and the other belonging to the Lord. But as he looked more closely, he saw that for most difficult and painful memories in his life, there was only one set of footprints. Turning to the Lord, he said, Lord, when I needed you most, why did you leave me? And you might know what God said back. God says back, those were the moments I carried you. Hebrews 12:2 says, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, for the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Worship team, can you go ahead and come up? So I have a challenge for each of you this week. And that challenge is pray this simple prayer before school. Jesus, help me keep my eyes on you today. And just watch how that one shift changes everything. So are you sinking in something today, whether it be stress, sin, insecurity, comparison? Jesus is here. His hand is outstretched. Will you cry out like Peter and come up to the altar and reach for his hand? I want to do something a little bit differently tonight for altar. What I want to do is I want to give this opportunity for you to have a one-on-one with Jesus. So what I want everyone to do is, if you can just get up from your seats and separate from each other. Find a different space in this room and just take a moment to sit in his presence as the worship team sings. Take this moment to refocus on your faith in Jesus, because it will bring rescue. So if you can go find that spot right now, whether it's up here at the altar, whether it's on the side of the room, even if you just want to sit in your spot where you're at, but separate. Just get away from somebody that you're next to at the moment and just take time to sit in his presence.